Welcome to Untamed Blossoms, the podcast where we celebrate the untamed journey of womanhood. Here, we tell the stories of incredible women who have embraced their authenticity, inspiring others to do the same.
From entrepreneurs to artists, activists to adventurers, we share triumphs, challenges, and the beauty of self-discovery. These are the stories of women blazing their own trails, breaking free, and blooming unapologetically.
Join us to connect, be inspired, and celebrate the power of women's stories. Together, let's rewrite the rules and embrace our wildness.
Welcome to Untamed Blossoms. I'm your host, Amanda Riley.
And I'm Christy Riley. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Let's just get out of the way. It's fucking freezing. There's no degrees outside. Not a single degree floating around. None. Zero. And when I don't like to see a zero at 10 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be, what is it? I don't know, something like 14 or 20 or something by Saturday.
I'm not leaving my house Saturday until it's good and 0 degrees out.
Cold, y'all. It is cold. And for us in Ohio, we haven't seen these temperatures in a hot minute.
Yeah,
So
we
for
had
those
the
of you who
biggest
all live in
snowstorm since like what?
right?
Last like 20 years or something?
Yeah.
Ugh. I'm just
The
so
snow's
thankful.
beautiful. I was happy to be snowed in for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I enjoyed my being snowed in and just having quiet time at home. Got caught up on a lot of things, when you're forced to slow down. But
Yeah.
I was shoveled it for the first time today. It's a lot.
It is, they say you're not supposed to shovel snow after the age of 45 because of how cardiovascular intensive it is. Did you know that? And
Can't be helped.
I'm sitting around like, so half the population just isn't gonna
Ever come out of their house?
But it did make me think like, oh my gosh, there are some people who just are elderly and live alone and like, that is scary.
We checked on our elderly neighbor to make sure that she and all of our neighbors are older than us, but their sons and her son lives next to them. So he had the tractor out and got everybody plowed out. And it's good. But
That's good.
we checked on her to make sure she was okay.
It is. It's a great time.
I know you hate the cold. You're doing a good job of surviving, especially this puffy vest you have on that your husband bought you.
I'm wearing a sweater, a puffy vest, and I came in wearing a puffer huge jacket. You're like, are you wearing 2 coats? I can see why you would think that. Because that's something I would probably do.
Listen, this is the second time you've left your house today. I feel like that's a win for you and it's going to win. So
I know. And I'm like, if I got to run an errand, I better do it
right now.
Immediately after. Because once I'm in, no.
Right.
I have my crochet blanket, my heated blanket on, and I'm not leaving.
Right. Where we're at.
I have a marketing call today at work.
Yeah.
Like a whole entire like Coldwell Banker marketing call.
Yeah.
I usually don't attend those, not because I think I know everything, but just because they're usually more social media focused. And I feel like I have that pretty much down in terms of what they usually teach. But today we just got acquired by Compass, which is a much larger real estate company. And they are all tech first. Like they're a tech first company. And so they're going to have a lot of new stuff coming out for us to use.
Is this exciting for you?
It was like
techie.
My eyes are so big. One of my coworkers looked over at me when we were at the sales kickoff and just was like cracking up because I've never looked so.
Were you like,
this is so exciting. So today at 1, we have our first call, like going over some of those things. And I'm just like, it's funny because I got my first MBA in like a focus on business project management.
Yeah.
And then I started going back to a second one for HR and then kind of started focusing on marketing. I never got to finish because Verizon closed, but I've always like really loved marketing. And obviously I've been in social media marketing for a while, but it's just interesting how much my focus and attention goes towards marketing now. So I'm super pumped today. We get to talk to a marketer.
I know. It's for solopreneurs, which is great.
Totally.
I hope she gives us some great insight on things that we can do for the podcast too, to make sure that we're doing all the things, checking all the boxes. I think we probably are with you on board. Well, not because of me, but because of you. To that matter, just 4 minutes ago, we were talking. I was trying to help you get something from our master document over to the website for email marketing, and it wasn't going well. That's how my techie experiences go. All of them. Well, so it's a lot of trial and error, and then oh god, something worked, and then trial and error.
Well, I think also marketing has evolved too because everyone kind of knew what avenues and methods they are, but now with AI especially, things change so much and so quick. And SEO was pushed for so long, search engine optimization, and now it's AEO, answer engine optimization. How are you making sure your content is answering a question people are asking? So, what's great about meeting with marketers and listening to them chat is there are things that they know because they are focused solely on that no matter how good you are at marketing,
that's their job.
That's their job. Yeah. So I'm really, really excited to talk with Sarah
to stay
Taylor.
up with the change. And it's exhausting for me, I'll be honest. Even when you were doing SEO, even that changed, I feel like, really fast if you weren't having somebody manage it. So as an entrepreneur who's doing all the roles, right? If you're a solopreneur and you're the person doing the boots on the ground, you're doing all your financials, you're doing, maybe you're managing a couple of employees or more, doing that on top of it, and then trying to keep up with the changes and how fast it was changing. And then it was social media, and then it was the algorithm changes. And even though I'm aware of all that stuff, I'm not good at it. And I really don't enjoy it. To learn about it is not enjoyable for me. So even though I'm a chronic learner, that's not one that I've ever been like, I can't wait to learn more about that. My eyes glaze over and I'm like,
I think that's a really important thing, is knowing yourself. And I think entrepreneurs fall in this trap of, well, I have to do everything myself.
Right.
And I can't possibly hire someone to do this. Or like the hands on it so tight, like I don't want to give this up.
Right.
But truly marketing can be one of those things, especially if you have a big company. Not big in terms of like huge, but like you have a couple employees, like you said. That's a situation where if you're not passionate about it, let that go.
The income could show up to pay for that person too. If they're doing their job well, then the exposure you get and the people that should be coming to you from those advertisements and them running your social media and understanding the algorithms and all the things that they're doing should pay off and pay for them.
Absolutely.
And that's one less thing that you have to do. So I'm really excited to talk to Sarah today and see what she has to say.
Totally. Hello, Sarah. Welcome to the pod. How are you?
Hey. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh.
We're excited to talk to you.
And we, in our intro, introducing you, we talked a lot about how horrible the weather has been. So we will spare you that conversation that we always end up having about Ohio weather. But we're just grateful that you could join us today virtually.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. It is a bit of a snowpocalypse here. Getting back in late last night from New York was an adventure. It made me very much appreciate the 15-minute drive from the airport here to home, as opposed to the hour-and-a-half drive to go about the same distance in New York City. So
things that we don't realize we're grateful for when we live in the Midwest.
100%. Quick and convenient airport access is huge.
Huge deal. Huge deal. So, Sarah, I know that you're in marketing. You work with solopreneurs mostly. It sounds like maybe you've had some other great experiences in marketing as well. But we really want you to start back in the beginning. So, take us back. Tell us about how you got where you are.
Absolutely. So I grew up here in Columbus, Ohio, in Clintonville more specifically, and I haven't gone far. I'm just down the road now in German Village. And I grew up in Clintonville, only child, went to Columbus School for Girls for 10 years and graduated in 2012. All girls education for me was really formative to who I am as a person, as an individual. It made me confident and comfortable. It made me know my worth and value. I feel like that's the foundation to who I am, really comes from CSG and my years there. So when I got into college, never hesitated to raise my hand and answer a question, or ask questions and be curious. Because curiosity and intellectualism was so valued and rewarded, that just transitioned me into college really seamlessly.
We just had a guest last week, actually, who also went to an all-girl school. So it's just so funny that's been back to back. And that's what, her...
She was a CSG alum too.
Yeah. And her biggest takeaway really was like that atmosphere, being able to focus on her education and being comfortable really changed everything, because you don't have so many of the distractions that you normally would. And you're able to just be your most authentic self in that environment.
100%. 100%. There's you kind of strip away the layers, like you said, of the distraction, right? Every club is run by a girl. Every leadership position is filled by a girl, right? It's never this question of like, I don't know if I could because XYZ. Like there's the understanding of like, if you want to start something, you have to start it, and you can't just wait around for someone else to get there. So it really creates this atmosphere of, I mean, this probably followed me all the way through, right? Of like entrepreneurship and ownership, dedication, hard work, drive. Like all of the people I know from CSG are extremely type A, and extremely driven. So it kind of follows you. It's kind of irrevocably part of me in a very good way.
Yeah.
And a lot of my closest friends here in Columbus still are CSG alumni who've left and come back. And a lot of people have started to come back and,
Yeah.
build businesses, buy homes, start families, that sort of thing. So it
Yeah.
draws you back in. Yeah.
Okay. So then you went to a small college.
Yes, went to a small liberal arts college called Davidson College. It's in North Carolina. And the most famous claim to fame is that Steph Curry, who plays for the Golden State Warriors, went to Davidson. And that's
Love
that
that.
connection. But otherwise, it's not known for its sports. It's known for its academics. And so it was like a bunch of like-minded, nerdy people all together in one place, which was like my happy place. And ended up majoring in political science and minoring in French. I studied abroad 2 semesters. So I went to India in the fall of my sophomore year, and then to France in the fall of my junior year.
Why did you choose those two places?
So the India program was specific to political science majors that year, and I decided to major in political science. I would get a lot of credits towards my degree and also get to travel to India. We ended up doing 24 cities within India, and then Sri Lanka, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. So then that kind of fed into my interest in the Middle East. Ended up studying Arabic when I got back to campus, and that kind of like laid the foundation of my linguistic interests in French and Arabic. And then post grad, of course, choosing to live in Morocco, where French and Arabic are the primary languages, kind of laid that foundation. So chose India because I just wanted an adventure, and I'd never been anywhere quite like it. And ended up getting a ton of credits, which was awesome. The folks that I met and the professor like who led the program ended up being really foundational to my degree and the path that I ended up taking. Focused in on the Middle East and Middle Eastern relations for my degree path at Davidson.
I was just wondering, like, because I know the culture is so different comparatively to here. Did you have a
Yeah.
hard time with how different everything was, or was it just more like enamored by all of it that you're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible?
It is like this. I find this anytime you're abroad for a long period of time or like away from home for a long period of time. The first month is amazing. Everything's incredible. You love it. Everything is perfect and wonderful, incredible. And then you get sick for the first time, and then you're like, oh, I kind of miss home. And so like there's a bit of a lull, a bit of a like downturn where you're like, I may have made a big mistake. And then it kind of goes up from there as you get more comfortable with the culture. India was a bit of a cultural adjustment for me in particular, just like going anywhere alone as a woman was just less comfortable. It might have changed since 2013 when I was there, but it was this like I couldn't really go anywhere alone, which felt really different because I'm hyper independent, maybe to a fault. So that was an adjustment. I remember one time I like had to go to a doctor because I got sick a lot, but had to go to a doctor off campus, and because we were staying on a local college campus in Tamil Nadu, the state in the South India, in Chennai. And so I took like a tuk-tuk, and then I walked, and I found it's like before Google Maps really worked in India. And I got back, and my professor was upset because, of course, he was like responsible for the whole group, and I was like, I just needed to go do this, so I took care of it. But yeah, it was an adjustment from hyper independence to like more dependence on the group, right?
He was mad. He was mad that you left and didn't tell him that you were going or that nobody went with you.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm like,
Huh.
I got this. No big deal.
Like, I
And
go to the
it
Minute
was
Clinic all the time. Like, what's this big
yeah, I just
deal?
drive myself over, no big deal.
Yeah.
It's like your version
Yeah,
of CVS. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
it was fine.
But
Yeah, they gave me
he was
antibiotics.
afraid for you. Was it unsafe for you to go? Was he worried about your safety?
Yes, I think too, like because it was a college run program, there were like certain
Mm.
liability concerns and considerations that they wanted to make sure to keep everybody safe, to make sure that the college didn't have any issues. So they had been running that program in India. I'm not sure if they still have it, but it was Davidson in India. They had like certain
Mhm.
programs run and operated by the college that now they've kind of, many colleges have wound those down because they're more cost effective to send students through like SIT or other study abroad programs. But they'd been running the Davidson in India program for like 40 years by that point. So it was extremely safe and in some ways very sheltered experience of India.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah. But then,
So
so that was my fall, my sophomore year. No one studied abroad fall of sophomore year. So I came back and was like, I've had this transformative experience and no one got it. Everyone just, was like, how is India? And I was like, well, it was hard. Like, how do I unpack this 4 month intense experience? But people just wanted to hear, it was great. How was your semester? Missed you, So
like, well, it
there's
changed my
that.
whole life. So do you
My
have some
whole
time?
world has shifted. How has yours shifted? And everyone
Yeah.
had been kind of on the campus bubble, so it was different. Um, but then, because I fell in love with the French language when I was 9, I watched my first film in French and like immediately was like, this is my whole personality now. So when I followed my junior year, I studied abroad in France, and that was the like Davidson in France program. So I chose it because I just had like absolutely fallen in love with the language. Just this morning, I had my French lesson. Actually, I still take lessons once a week with my tutor in France,
That's awesome.
virtually. Um, and yeah, I just don't know. It stuck in my mind at age 9 that I had to become fluent in this beautiful language. And so studied abroad there, lived in Paris for 1 month, lived with a family, like a French family for 3 in a tiny town outside Paris called Tours. It's kind of like the Columbus of France. It's where people live as opposed to just tourists show up,
Of
right? No
course.
one
Yeah.
goes there.
Yeah.
um, and, and again, there's like the through line, and we'll talk more about it later, but I just ran my first yoga retreat because I run yoga retreats on the side. I just ran my first yoga retreat in the south of France last summer
Oh,
and
Wow.
was
wow.
able to
Very cool.
navigate and work with vendors and coordinate our drivers and speak in French the whole time. I'm close to fluency now because of the, 20 years of studying the language that I've done to get there. Right.
So
That's
how
awesome.
different was it going from India then to studying there? Like, how did
Yeah.
you navigate that?
It was night and day, right? India was a challenge from like, I just got sick a lot from things I ate to I wasn't sleeping well to I wasn't taking care of myself. So I was just like sick. And also, not being able to go out alone and having to navigate different cultural considerations and constraints on kind of my liberties and freedom. And then France was the like total opposite. It was easy, right? And it was so interesting. The type of person drawn to the India study abroad program, there was no overlap with the type of student who was drawn to the France. The
Yeah.
France,
Right.
right? The France one was like, I want to have a good time. I want to party. I want to go out. I want to drink a lot of good French wine. And, we're all like 19 and 20 and
Right.
having a good time, right? So it was
Right.
it was so fascinating, and everyone traveled on the weekends, like to Amsterdam and Copenhagen and all over the place. I decided early on to really dedicate to becoming fluent. So I stayed in France and like was more in and around like the different regions of France. And that really for me made all the difference because I went from pretty basic level of French, like they level it ABC in France. You have to take different proficiency exams, and I was an A1, which is like the basic most beginner, and ended up like getting to pretty comfortable proficiency by the end and catching up with everyone else who had studied French for like years more than I had. So it was yeah, it's so interesting. Night and day. That was like the fun study abroad program where classes don't really matter and you have a great time. But I was classic me. I had to take it very seriously.
You're like, I will get the most out of this
I
experience.
will squeeze every bit of this for all it's worth.
And how long were you there?
I was there
That's
for 4 months.
4 months.
Um,
Okay.
and then when I did move to Morocco and I spent about 10 months, almost a year in Morocco, those two experiences, plus now my lessons, have been really the moments that have taught me the most French when it comes to like producing language and like communicating with folks. But it's always fun to talk with someone from France in French because they're like, "You spent how much time in France?" I'm like, "Oh, about 4 months. That was enough to get where I am." And they're like, "That's
Oh,
great. That's not what
wow.
they usually expect from Americans. We don't have the best linguistic reputation over in Europe as far as like
We
what
do
we
not.
actually can speak."
We do
Yeah.
not.
Well, it's so much harder to learn different languages as an adult. I'm on the Duolingo train, and
Yep.
I took Spanish throughout school. So started in high school, which is late compared to most other countries. Um, but I find it so much easier to do my Spanish lessons and pick that up. And I'm trying to learn other languages too through Duolingo.
Hmm.
And it is so much harder unless like I'm like, oh, that sounds like a Spanish word. So I think I can figure that
Hmm.
out because of that. But yeah, it's just so much more difficult to learn at 39 than it was at, 15.
Right, right. And I find this is the challenge of American like linguistic education is we're taught to read and write. We're not really taught to speak, and we're not immersed, so in the
Yeah.
classroom environment, I was taught to read in French or read in Spanish, but speaking in either was like really not part of it. And so I learned by immersion. I learned by doing and making mistakes. Like that's the thing with anything you learn from nothing is there are a lot of times where I've embarrassed myself significantly in French, and the French are they do not hesitate to correct me because they're like, "Look, this girl clearly is trying and she's done quite a lot of progress. She could be a little bit better though." So let me say, I was walking into a cheese shop in Paris, which is like my happy place, just a shop full of cheese. It's incredible. It's like the promised land. Walk into this cheese shop. I'm ordering, trying to tell her how we found out about it. It's like, "Oh, so and so who owns this wine shop, we're here because of her." But the way I phrased it in French was like a negative, like it's her fault that we're here.
Uh,
And so the cheese shop owner, they have like a special word for that, like cheesemonger, was like, "You'd actually use this grammatical configuration. She's like, you're going to use, grâce à elle as opposed to à cause d'elle." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." So anywhere from the cheesemonger to your French teacher is going to correct you and everyone in between. But you have to take it with an open mind and be like, "Not going to take that personally. Thank you. I will take that going forward." Right.
love
Well,
it.
and I think that, it's not valued, I don't think, in the United States to really learn to speak another language unless you are a Duolingo, like
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
two language household, right?
Right.
Mom speaks a language and dad speaks a different language. And so
Right.
somebody only speaks, I know several families like this, that dad only speaks in
Native tongue.
his native tongue, and
Hmm.
mom speaks in English all the time to the kids. And so they grow up hearing both and understanding both. But other than that, it's not really valued the way it is in other countries, that you will
Right.
learn how to speak English, you will learn how to speak another language, sometimes 3 and 4 languages.
100%.
And it started very early, and it's just not part of our culture
Yeah.
here, which is really strange to me. Now,
Right.
once you get out, I don't think we think about it until we start to travel abroad and realize
Hmm.
that, so everywhere we go, we assume that they're going to
Hmm.
understand us,
Right.
because that's our culture is that we're not taught that we should be learning other people's languages, that we're going to travel to Paris
And they will accommodate us.
and people will just
Uh-huh.
understand that we are, and it's just
Yes.
an interesting thing that, and we get like, we assume when you start to speak to somebody that they're going to speak our language
Right.
in
Right.
their
That
country,
assumption. Hmm.
right?
And that's
Right.
why I kind of always vibe with French people because, people always say like, well, they don't like Americans or whatever. I'm like, yeah, and also probably most places shouldn't like us. Like if we're making all these
Right.
assumptions about how they
We
communicate and
seem to be very arrogant, because we are.
Yes.
yeah.
We
Hmm.
are
So
when we
Yep.
travel, and we assume that everybody's going to understand us, instead of us making any sort of attempts when we're
Effort.
visiting your country to learn your language or be ready to speak
Hmm.
your language, at least in the basic concepts of it.
yeah.
Yes.
And so it's not like they don't like us. You're annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
what?
I'm like, which
You're on our soil now, bitch. Like learn our language.
Yeah.
Like speak to us, or at least attempt. So if you're attempting, I can see where they would be like, wow, she's trying, and let me help her be more fluent in this because she's clearly
Yes.
making an attempt, and that's better. But French don't really. That's how I've experienced them. Is they're not afraid to
Yeah.
tell anybody anything, pretty much.
Oh no. Oh no. They're gonna tell you what their opinion
Sure,
is. And they're
feeling.
not gonna hold back. Yeah.
Right.
There's the veneer, the
Yeah.
mask
Yeah.
isn't there.
Right.
Like the
Nah.
polite American Midwest, like that. No, why
Mm-mm.
would I waste
Yeah.
your time? Like if, and I think this is where it's challenging. I've recommended Paris to everyone and, their mom because I'm obsessed with it. But when I have friends who go and come back, they're like, I didn't like it. I didn't like the people. The people were kind of harsh. The people were kind of abrasive. I got slapped on the wrist about this or corrected on that. And it was like, it is a night and day difference when you can speak the language. And that's a challenge when you're early on learning anything, but a language included, and you're trying to speak it to a native speaker. Is that, you'll have those instances where they'll switch to English because they're going to hear you
Yeah.
halt and make corrections and make errors. And they're going to be like, it'd be easier if we just talked in English.
Yeah.
But it hurts the ego, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh God, that's about me. And it's like, it's not about you. But yeah,
Or I
the
panic, like in
assumptiveness.
Spanish when I go to Mexico, and I'll be like, "Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bien, y tú?" Like the basic, right? And then they'll be like, "Oh, you speak Spanish," and I'll be like, "Ooh."
That was wrong.
Un poco.
No,
Like,
just a
I
little
was about
bit.
ready to launch in a full conversation, and now I'm going to panic, and I'm going to be like, I may not understand a word you say past this. I probably would actually understand quite a bit, but I think we panic because we don't get a chance to really immersively
Practice.
speak it on a regular
Mhm.
basis, which some of the apps, I guess, are fixing.
Duolingo helps a bunch. It's,
Yeah.
I was using it leading up to my first trip back to Paris in a long time. So I studied there in 2014, ended up going back once for a family trip in 2017, because Morocco and France is so close. My parents met me over there. We did a little trip. And then didn't go back because of COVID, didn't go back to 2022. Spent a month there with my now husband. We actually got engaged in
Aw.
France, just
Yeah.
outside Paris. And that was my first trip back in a while. And now I go back about every year. We're hoping to do another month in this fall, as I'm
That's
prepping
awesome.
for another France retreat in 2027. But yeah, if you don't make the effort, I was using Duolingo leading up to that 2022 trip. I actually just finally gave up my Duolingo streak of about 1,700 days.
No.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I just had to
Girl,
say goodbye.
oh,
I had to say goodbye to
that
it because I was
literally
like,
made my stomach drop for you. Last
no,
night
the
at like
owl. The
11,
owl
I
was
was
gonna come
like,
find me.
I don't know, like if you noticed, but like the owl gets really angry at night.
Yeah, it turns
Like
on its angry face, and you're like, I don't need this stress in my
there's like
life.
flames in the background and his eyes are all big. I'm like, sir, it's
He's
the
a threat.
widget. Look how cute he looks right now. Cute little owl
He's
guy.
fine
He's just
now.
sitting there.
Just wait.
He's so cute. It's early.
But he gets mad if you
As it
haven't
gets
done
close
it.
to midnight, he turns bright red and fiery and flamey.
Hysterical.
Yes. And that's when I would do all of my lessons because I'd put them off to like the last 5 minutes of the night. And I'd be like, this isn't really helping me learn French. Let me just watch more films in French, watch more TV shows in French.
Yeah.
I
Right.
would recommend Lupin if you haven't seen Lupin on
Ooh,
Netflix. If you're
Okay.
looking to improve your auditory, Netflix will let you do subtitles in French. And so that'll help
oh, nice.
That's
immensely.
awesome.
So
Awesome.
So
good stuff.
how long were you back before you ended up going to Morocco? And you moved there? Is that
I
kind of how
did.
that went? Okay.
Yeah. So I finished my degree at Davidson in 2016. In political science, did a short-term internship in DC at the Middle East Institute, MEI, where I was like doing intensive Arabic lessons and doing research work on the Middle East, and then got introduced to, interviewed for, and got a job at a university in Morocco called Al Akhawain, which is like a liberal arts American style college in the middle of the mountains in the Middle Atlas Mountains in Morocco. So I got a job there, moved there in August 2016. So graduated in May or June, moved in August. So it was a pretty quick turnaround, and they were the ones who facilitated all the visas and the applications and things for me, which is great when an employer can do that for you. So I was there. It was essentially like a fellowship year where I worked for the provost of the university, took classes, traveled all over Morocco, and really fell in love with the country and the people, and everyone was so welcoming. People would be like, particularly the women traveling alone, I'd have families be like, come to our home, have dinner with us, stay with us for a week. We'll feed you, we'll take you here, we'll show you a good time.
Wow.
And it was a really lovely place to be for that year. Again, like India, though, a lot of issues just trying to be and navigate a woman in public space. That's actually shifted quite a lot since I was living there. Like Morocco now is just much more comfortable modern place to be, but where I was like a pretty rural area where women had certain roles and expectations and what they were supposed to wear and do and be, and that I was not that. So you got a lot of unwanted attention. So things like I'm a big runner, running outside was not an option for me. So it was like
Mm.
it was tough in some
Yeah.
ways and really beautiful in others. There was a bit of both.
Did you get introduced to yoga while you were there, or when did that kind of start?
That's a great question. No, I first got introduced to yoga when I was 13. I did a
Oh, okay.
summer camp at Columbus School for Girls, and because my parents both worked full time all my growing up years, and one of the little classes we did was a yoga class, and so my
Mm.
first introduction to yoga was when I was 13. And I was kind of skeptical. I'm like, I get the stretchy part, like that's nice. Um, but the breath didn't make any sense to me. Like, why are we inhaling? Does it matter when I inhale or when I exhale? I kind of ignored that, but learned later on, like, that's the whole point. Which is funny. But when you're 13, you're like, don't tell me what to do. So first yoga class when I was 13, dabbled every 6 months. I take a class, be sore for like 2 weeks and like not take another class for another 6 months. Picked it back up in college as we had like required gym classes you had to take. So picked that back up in college. And in Morocco, that was my regular, there was a yoga teacher who would do a Monday night class, and I would go every single Monday. And so
Wow.
that became this like regular practice for me. It really gave me a lot of groundedness through the ups and downs of that year living abroad, living so far away from home. After like the Trump election as well, it was just a hard time to be not in my home context and not understand what had happened at home, but be far away from it. And it was when I was talking to that teacher about yoga teacher training. She kind of pitched me on it. I'm like, look, when I get home, I came home, didn't have a job, didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to do yoga teacher training because it was such a fundamental part of like what gave me my sense of self and peace while I was over in
Yeah.
Morocco. So I'm like, I want to be able to give this to other people too.
And the whole time in India, no exposure to yoga during that time?
We had some, we
Some,
like
okay.
dabbled. But the yoga practice in India is much more traditional.
Yeah.
So it's less like in the US. Have you both done yoga before?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the US, we have like a vinyasa style yoga. It takes its cues from what would, thousands of years old yoga postures that have existed since the era of Patanjali, 4,000 years ago. But the modern sense of how we do yoga today is much more in the American sense, like workout focused and
Yeah.
less just like postures and held breath work in India. So we did some, but not a whole lot because we
Yeah.
were rarely in one place long enough. We
Yeah.
traveled so
That makes
much.
sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you went to get your instructor training and all of that, was it virtual through someone in Morocco, or was it just local here in Columbus?
When I moved back to Columbus, there was a yoga studio at the time called Yoga on High,
Yeah.
which
Oh, yeah.
in the short north. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
familiar.
We've been,
Yeah.
yep, I'd
Yeah.
been to that studio. Did you ever
Yeah.
go?
I don't
Yeah.
think I ever went to that one
Yeah.
actually, but
I
yeah.
went to that studio a
Yeah.
couple times.
It was like the first yoga studio to really open in Columbus in the early
Mhm.
2000s, and they really led the charge for a long time. They sadly closed a couple years back, but they were the foundation of my yoga teacher training and my yoga practice, like the regularity of it. And I'm actually doing my 300 hour. So the 200 hour is the first part, the 300 hour is the second part, and I'm actually in the process of doing that now. with the same teacher who did my 200-hour,
Mm.
Ann Weidiger, who's local to Columbus. She is amazing. Her and Tom Griffith are my teachers for that program. So I'm now, having taught for 8 years, embarking on this kind of go deeper program through Ann and Tom.
So what made you come back from Morocco? You decided to.
It was kind of the end of that. It was just a year-long fellowship, so the academic year.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, so I was there August through May.
Okay.
Did some solo travel and travel to visit friends in and around Europe for about a month afterwards. From kayaking in the fjords of Norway to visiting friends in Copenhagen and going to London. A friend of mine was doing her master's degree in London, so kind of like bopped around, went to Italy, and then came home with very little left in my bank account, and because I didn't really understand how money worked. And got home, my parents were like, you need to get a job. So I lived with my parents and did my teacher training for a few months, was job searching and networking, ended up landing a job with Representative Kathleen Clyde at the Ohio State House, and started in March of 2018 with her.
Nice.
And by June, got an apartment, moved into that apartment, and moved out of my parents. But for about a year, lived at home and tried to get my feet back underneath me and figure out how it was all going to work.
How was working in the politics? I'm sure that was a pretty hard, right?
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
So I worked in politics not for very long, quite honestly. I started in 2018 in March, and by June of 2019, I had left and was going to take a role at a startup. So to be in politics in Ohio, to get anything done in terms of a progressive lens, which I'm sure you're very surprised to learn that that's my bent personally, and politically, there was kind of a no-go. There was nothing we could really get past in terms of policy, and so it felt very stagnant and sad. It was a really sad place to be. It hasn't gotten much better, unfortunately, but yeah, it was just a barrage of really bad laws for women that we could do nothing about. So that was part of it. I really loved the legislators I got to work for. Like Kathleen Clyde is a wonderful person. I believe she's now head of the Ohio Democratic Party. And Senator Nikki Antonio, who is in the Ohio Senate and represents Lakewood, she was kind of the next boss that I took after Kathleen's election cycle was up in that fall. So, worked for two amazing women, right? It's the women who really shape your career path and who you are, dedicated, driven, inspiring women who really persisted through a tough environment to still have their voices be heard and advocate for their constituents. So, I was a legislative aide, so I answered phone calls mostly all day and emails, and took case notes and tried to advocate for folks to get access to simple medical devices that they needed funding for, or trying to pass forward to the senator the priorities of her constituents. So it was a fascinating place to be. We got some wild phone calls, and anyone and everyone could call in. And then decided that there was just more perhaps to be done in the private sector. So and this was in kind of leaning into my journey towards entrepreneurship, did a fellowship through Venture for America, which is an organization that no longer exists, but they paired recent college graduates with startup companies in emerging cities like Columbus. And I got into that fellowship, and they paired me with Beam for August of that year. So did
And boy,
an
is doing a
intensive.
startup just
Mhm.
another huge culture shock. Like
Yes.
going from being a student and traveling to then
Yes.
politics, and then the
The
craziness that is
grind of a startup. Yeah.
hmm Yes. And I think what I learned from all of these like kind of key formative experiences from those first few years post grad, it was it is so important how you show up in the workplace and the people you surround yourself with and the energy you both give and receive and surround yourself with, because that can make all the difference, right? If you're in a workplace that you're surrounded by folks who are negative, and it can be really toxic, right? And you fall into the same patterns and the same, beliefs. And it's really easy to be part of that kind of negativity spiral. And so, what I really learned from those three very different experiences was like, at the end of the day, it matters who you're surrounded by and
Yeah.
how they ask you to show up and what they, kind of draw out of you. Is that the best version of you, or is it not? And that is so important.
I had a
I agree.
boss who used to say, if you squeeze an apple, what comes out? Apple juice. If you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. And if you're being squeezed in your profession, what comes out? Well, it's what you're made of. And if you're in an environment where that squeeze is bringing out the worst parts of what you're made of, then it's like, why be here? Right? Because there'll be plenty of places you're squeezed and you're asked to do things that are hard, but with the right environment and the right people around you, it brings out the best of you, not the worst.
100%.
Agreed.
And so how long were you at the startup? And then did you decide from there, like, I want to kind of do my own thing?
So that got decided for me in a lot of
Oh,
ways. So when I started, this was August of 2019, and I had about a good 6 months of working in person in their offices down in like a kind of warehouse district of Columbus. If you're familiar with Wolf's Ridge, they were near there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then COVID hit. And so
Mm.
I, was thrown into that remote work lifestyle. And we all kind of did our best for as long as we could in that environment, and ended up transitioning into a marketing role because I knew that was more interesting to me. That storytelling element, the kind of internally facing role as opposed to externally facing I was working with like insurance brokers. A lot of what I was doing was like selling dental benefits and ancillary benefits for this startup company. And so switched to more an internal facing role in, I want to say February 2021, and got a good 2 years of marketing experience hand on. I was a campaign manager for them, um, and then unfortunately they had a layoff, right, and that affected my role. So in February 2023 was when I lost my role at Beam, and it was a gift. Like, it was an immense gift at the time. Didn't feel quite like a gift, but I had been ready to move on for a long time. I just hadn't done it. Like, particularly because it was, this remote kind of still post-COVID energy. There were a lot of concerns. The job market was up and down. I didn't want to leave without having something lined up. So I always had excuses as to why I didn't want to start my own thing. And I had already started one LLC. I'd started my Wandering Soul Yoga, which is my yoga LLC. And it's the structure through which I ran my first ever retreat to Morocco in the fall of 2022, which was still working at Beam. I kind of like took vacation time and did that retreat. Um, and then it was, less than 6 months later that my role was impacted at Beam. So I'd already kind of given thought to, okay, I want to build this on the side, maybe do some yoga videos, maybe do some blogging, newsletters, that sort of thing, retreats. Then when they're like, okay, so we are, we no longer need your services. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Goodbye. That was really what pushed me to actually build my own company, like, and actually think, okay, realistically, what kind of revenue do I need to be bringing in month over month to make this a reality? And luckily, I have a really supportive husband and partner, and he really, took one for the team that first year when I was building revenue streams and figuring out what I was doing. But pretty quickly, within like 6 months, knew I wanted to build a marketing arm of what I was doing. So I knew I could make money doing it. Let's see how we could turn this around quickly and get this off the ground. Because I was like, I'd love to be able to pay my bills and mortgage, right? So it was like just faced with the reality of my situation. I thought I would do it just for a little bit until I got a full-time job, but then just brought in enough revenue over time from different revenue streams, different organizations, solopreneurs, small businesses, that it made sense to stick with it. And that's where I am today. Is 75% of my time and energy I spend on my, marketing clients and marketing work. And I work often with smaller organizations, nonprofits, solopreneurs, mostly organizations that make under $1 million in annual revenue a year, who know that marketing has value but can't bring someone on full time. Like they couldn't bring me on as a full time marketing hire, but they can do in this kind of fractional capacity. So that's been the last 3 years, is building and balancing the marketing arm of what I do. Clients have come, clients have gone. There's kind of always this like ups and downs of the revenue, and that's been something to adjust to over time. But it always kind of comes back, and the right people find me eventually, which is good.
And if someone's listening and they're like, this sounds like me and my business and what we need, where can people find you for marketing? And then also, are you teaching yoga anywhere, or do you offer any classes, and where can people find that?
Yeah, great question. So the best way to find me is on my website, which is sarahtaylor.marketing, and that's Sarah with an H. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Sarah Taylor Marketing or Sarah Taylor, and you'll find me there. And the best way to find me with yoga is I teach at a studio called Aya Yoga, which is in German Village. They're by that Fox in the Snow here. And you can also find me on Instagram and YouTube at Wondering Soul Sarah. And that's Wondering with an O.
Love it.
Wonderful. So you got your yoga, you made your business. At what point did you meet your husband? We haven't talked about that, and getting married. And
I did get married. Yeah. So he and I met, we had both moved. I moved back to Columbus. He had moved to Columbus in 2017. And so we met on Bumble, the dating app. And this was in the fall of 2017. We just moved back. And he had moved to Ohio State for a postdoc. He has a PhD in mathematics. So he had moved to Columbus to do his postdoc at Ohio State. And I obviously had moved back to live with family. And it's a long story, but to make it short, we went on one date and decided to be friends. Then when I needed a roommate in June of the following year, I reached out. And so we became roommates. And then a few months later, we started dating. So we've 100% of our relationship has been we've lived together for it. And we lived in an apartment in German Village. Right. We lived in an apartment in German Village through COVID and ended up adopting a cat together. We found a cat on the street, and like that was just like so sweet. And so then we had to buy her a house. And so we bought a house, and now we bought our house, then we got engaged, and we got married in 2024. So we bought the house in 2022, 2 years later got married, and here we are. And now we have 2 cats. And
this is a lesson in that the first date should never be the indicator of whether you're compatible with somebody long term.
No. And probably don't take my advice, but if you were to take my advice, it would be to go on a date, move in together, then start dating, and then get married.
Which, I think it's a throwback to when you decide early in life that you're independent. I know you mentioned earlier, independent to a fault, maybe sometimes, and you're focused on exploring and doing all these things. It helps you know who you are to then find the right person later, and they can join your story, but they don't have to be your story. And I just love that you said, who am I? I'm going to travel. I'm going to experience things. I'm going to figure out who I am. And then when it felt right, it was, and it wasn't, that wasn't your focus. And that's beautiful.
Right. We've been able to grow together, but we also came into the relationship with existing interests and different interests and friends. And so it's been lovely to grow together, but not have to share all of our interests or do everything in common. So, I have this deep love of France that he very much supports, and we go to France frequently. Our honeymoon, we just did our honeymoon. We did about a year later than our wedding. We did our honeymoon all throughout France, and he knows that's because I love it, right? But then I'm super into yoga, and he'll do some classes occasionally. He's super into climbing. I'll climb occasionally, but we both are comfortable having our own interests and doing things separately, and then coming back together, particularly over analog things that don't involve screens, right? We cook together, we listen to records together, we read together, and we share meals. And that's like our time to really decompress. So he's a good egg. His name's Ernie. He's the best. And
I love
yeah,
that.
we've been together 8 years now. Almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So what's next for you? What are you looking for in clients? Is there a particular client that you really love to work with?
It's a great question. Honestly, I work with really good people. I'm almost industry agnostic. It could be a for-profit or nonprofit, but I work with really good, compassionate, thoughtful, smart people who trust me to do best by them. So the kinds of organizations I'm currently working with, right, they span everything from an energy pricing company to a storytelling consultancy and everything in between. But at the end of the day, they're really good, smart people who care about what they do and trust me to do well by them. And kind of two things that I have openings for kind of in my roster at this point in terms of marketing really comes down to either kind of a one-on-one coaching relationship for the folks for whom an ongoing kind of monthly fee isn't really achievable right now, but that kind of one-on-one, let's just use the time we have together to brainstorm live and to build content and build structures live. Um, and that's going to be a lower price point for a lot of folks because it's just like an hour of my time, right? Um, or companies that, for that more robust need, I'm really good at building systems and then executing on those marketing systems. So if we go from, okay, here's what we're doing, here's what we want to do, I can get you there. Or if you're like, we currently do nothing, we don't know what to do, I'll build the ship and then sail it. So that's um, who I'm best for, really, is like, let's problem solve, let's create, let's get really creative and in the nitty gritty, and then let me run the ship for you.
What's your best advice for entrepreneurs, whether it's solopreneurs or smaller entrepreneurs, just getting started about marketing in its current state and how fast it's changing and AI being involved and
Yeah.
how is that shaping your world? And what advice
It
would you
has
give them?
completely changed it, right? So when I started doing this marketing work 3 years ago, it was the early days of LLMs, large language models, and before some of the biggest models dropped in kind of like fall of that year. So it went from I would write every piece of content by hand myself from scratch to using and implementing Claude and ChatGPT in kind of the first draft of most things. And what it's done is it's made my ability to churn out more high quality content faster for clients. Um, and it has also raised client expectations in terms of like what can be done and accomplished with the time they have, particularly if they're like on an hourly retainer basis. Um, so AI has completely changed how I work. It's still a first draft format. What it produces is still clearly written by AI. Lots of M dashes, lots of it's not this, it's that, or here's the crazy thing you won't believe. It's still like really
Right.
gimmicky. Um, but the way in which AI has completely reshaped how I work is immense. From my AI note taker that I take to calls with clients and then pull transcripts and inspiration from content, to video editing apps, to just getting that good first draft of a series of LinkedIn posts, right, and then editing by hand. It's it's night and day from what it
Yeah.
was 3 years ago. And that's a good and a bad thing in different regards, but it's part of it. And if I were to ignore it, my clients wouldn't be interested in working with me because they'd be like, well, couldn't you do that 10 times faster with AI? And so that's been, adapting to the demands of my clients. And so it's like,
Yeah.
yes. And I'm going to have some pretty heavy hands in it because it's just going to give you an okay product at the end of the day right now.
And I feel like now people are like, well, I don't need someone to help me with marketing. I can just use ChatGPT. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, that's probably not the best move.
Anyone
but
who uses ChatGPT for 20 minutes understands that what it's giving you is a starting point.
It's a
But if you're
start.
overwhelmed, right? If
Yeah.
you're overwhelmed and you're just
Yeah.
starting, I feel like people don't understand that. Like, it is better to get a human's advice from someone who's been doing this than just to plug in there because you're overwhelmed, right? Like, I think that's
Right.
something to be cognizant of.
Right, 100%. It could answer your big questions like, I've never done marketing. Where do I start? Maybe it could give you good
Mhm.
direction on where to go and how to build it. And there are folks out there who build custom chat GPT products for people and businesses. And they're like, just plug in your ideas and it will, spit out content. That content doesn't tend to be very original or interesting. I find that kind of content gets very little to no engagement on social media platforms or any platform for that matter. Mostly because people's eyes glaze over when they look at it. They're like, that's AI, or it's
Yeah.
boring, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's completely reshaped how we do in work. And what I find is all people come to me and they're like, AI gave me all these great ideas, but I don't know what to do now, or oh, I have all these blog topics that we want to execute on, but they haven't written them or edited them. They don't know how to get it live on the website, right? So that kind of, you come to me with all your ideas, but then I need to take them and actually make sure they happen. A big part of what I do, honestly, for my clients is I'm project managing for them and I'm keeping them accountable. It's like, okay, you said you wanted to take on this really big, crunchy project, all these different case studies. Each case study has a blog, has a video, has a, series of LinkedIn posts, has this, has that, YouTube shorts, YouTube long form, etc. It's like, well, someone needs to
Manage
help
that.
you. And that's me. A lot of what I do is like, okay, where are we with this? Where are we with that? Let's check in. What's the next step? Doing that sort of logistical planning work for people, keeping people on track.
And so you do offer basically like a coaching or an hourly service for somebody who would just be getting started, who might not have very much money in their budget and not
Hmm.
sure where to use their time and energy and what little resources they have.
Yeah.
You offer that service, which I think is really
I do.
great.
Yeah, I do. And that's kind of the entry point for folks, a good place to get started. And then a lot of those folks then, once we build the how and the what they need to do, a lot of it then comes down to eventually they'll probably come on board with me to have me run it. Because once we've built the system, they recognize they don't have the time for this. No one has the time for this, but I do. So many of my clients, their time and energies are so much better spent on the actual doing of their business, the running of their business, the selling, the taking care of their clients. And then I make it so that they don't have to think about marketing. They just know it's happening and
I
it's
think the
it's
key
going.
learning here is definitely like people have passions, right? And if you're starting your own business about something, that is your passion. And you're best suited to get someone else who's passionate about that area that you're not to help guide you because it will only make your business better. Like she does
Delegate,
not want me
delegate.
doing anything with our finances. I'll tell you that much. She's like, don't touch this. And I feel the
Right.
same way about her with editing. So,
Mhm.
like you find people to build your business around you that meet those spots, those weak points in skill or passion to help make you better.
You do. I have an accountant and a lawyer for that reason. I'm,
Yeah,
when I was setting up my LLC structure, I consulted someone who actually had a legal background in starting new businesses and what needed to happen. And, I have general liability coverage, and that's through my insurance guy, right? Like I delegate when I just know my limits and I know what I know and I know what I don't know.
right.
Right.
And often there are more things I don't know than I do, and I have to be honest with myself about what those are.
Totally.
So yes,
What is
100%.
the
I don't want to touch
where
taxes.
is the cost versus reward balance that you would suggest for an entrepreneur when they're like, okay, here's my bucket of money and I
Mhm.
have to pay for this and pay for that and pay for this. And I know I need marketing. And marketing is meant to bring you more business, right?
Yeah,
So
it
at
is.
what point do you tell a client, like, I know that, this feels like more money than you have, but the return on investment is this?
Mhm.
Like, can you talk about that and how you would pitch somebody on coming to you and how you can impact their business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I think it gets at the heart of that for me, and one of the biggest challenges when it comes to marketing and ROI on marketing is attribution. So it's near impossible to be able to say this LinkedIn post meant that you booked this client with this amount revenue coming in the door month over month. So this is the ROI when you think about marketing, right? It's more of that staying relevant, drawing
Mm,
people down into your sales funnel. But a lot of what my clients do is that they're still the sellers of what they do. So while marketing helps them get that phone call, helps them stay top of mind, helps them stay relevant and in the fore of people's imaginations, it may or may not be one to one that one email, because I don't do direct to consumer marketing, for example,
right.
D2C.
Right.
What I do is mostly B2B marketing, business to business marketing. So it's a bit of a fuzzy gray zone. So I really
Right.
come in when folks are doing just one too many things. And so they're bringing in a certain amount of revenue. They could bring in more if they could be more hands on with the selling, and they need to
Mhm.
offput, say they're spending 5-10 hours a week on the marketing side of their business. If they could even just get that time back is immensely valuable in terms of revenue production. But you're getting at a heart of a challenge of what I
Yeah.
do, which is attribution and distinctively saying, we did this, then you got more money. Because sometimes it's a bit more nebulous, and it's
Yeah.
people being aware of you, being, oh, I know so and so, they're my go-to for this, and I know that, oh, I keep seeing them on LinkedIn, I'm seeing them everywhere. It's that that approach to marketing that really works, but it's a challenge.
Well, and I think there's so many ideas floating around there on different social media platforms of what you have to do for people to recognize you and your business.
Hmm.
And that leads to a lot of people doing things that are not authentic to them. And people can easily see that. And they think, just do more, do more. And it's like, no,
Hmm.
you have to be very good at the few things that you do versus doing a TikTok dance here and spending a sign outside, with your podcast name on it, whatever that
And
is.
a Google ad
Uh,
there, right? Yeah.
yeah, like, and
Yeah.
I'm learning that a lot. I'm in real estate as well, and working for startups and big companies before, you have a marketing team and an entire program built around it, and then working at a startup, I looked at it more to like doing little side businesses like I used to do. And it's like,
Mhm.
you can't focus on all those things. You have to say, like, what brand recognition, where do we spend our money for marketing? And then how do we get very good at what we do? Like Christy and I, we want to be very good at podcasting. There's many other things that we can do and we want to do eventually. But for now, we know to get where we want to go, we have to be very good at the thing that we do, which is interviewing people and letting women tell their shit stories. So
100%. 100%. Like you said, I mean, you made a bunch of really good points I'll highlight too, one of which is authenticity. If you're showing up on a platform because you're supposed to, it just rings really hollow. People can see through that. And that's where you get kind of cringy influencer type content where you're like, what is this? What are you trying to do and accomplish
yeah,
here? So, a lot of what I do with clients is actually a lot of that kind of soul searching work of who am I? Who am I for? Who am I not for? And that kind of persona creation work is what lays the foundation of where you should show up online and how you should show up online. So that
yeah,
kind of like psychographic demographic work, I find it really helpful for businesses to understand who they're for and the pain points for the people they're serving, and then the marketing will speak to those pain points and really underscore that messaging over and over again. And if you're on every single channel producing content on everything from TikTok to Instagram to Facebook to LinkedIn, from videos to posts to images to text, you're doing everything, but you're not doing any one thing really well.
right.
So you have to focus, particularly small businesses who only have so much in terms of resources. So a lot of my
Right.
clients, we focus on LinkedIn or we focus on YouTube Shorts, right?
Yep.
We're really narrowed in because it's better to do one thing really well. 100% agree.
I love that. I think that's a great message to end
Yeah,
on.
totally.
If you have limited amounts of mental or financial resources, find the one thing that's impactful and do it well.
Yep,
Yeah.
totally.
And I think there does feel a pressure as an entrepreneur that you need to, oh, I need to do this, or I need to do more. Or I
Uh-huh.
saw a reel and this person's doing this and
Yep.
have a lot of success. I should do it that way. And
Yeah.
and we try to lean into where I'm like, I don't think I'll ever be on TikTok, sis. I don't
And then TikTok took that dream away from me anyway this week. So
TikTok changed all of their agreements and all kinds of crazy shit. So we're not going to be on TikTok, right? And so and that's because we don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Right. We don't believe in what they're doing. And so
that
that's
comes through
about integrity,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I take it from someone who's been, in the doom scroll in the past. And, we're in a current cultural political moment that is just tough. And so being chronically online, which is marketing 101, which is what I do, I am very, very strict with my boundaries on being online. So I am not on social media on the weekends. I block it all from my phone. I have none of the apps are on my phone. I interact with them on the desktop, right?
Yeah.
It's, make it harder for myself. Like I still keep up to date and I know what's relevant for my clients. But I really time limit that because I value my health and sanity. And the work for my clients. So like that's a fine line to walk. And I know for myself, if I were on TikTok, I'd be on it 24/7. So, know thyself and know that you can't be on every channel on every platform all the time because it'll drive you crazy. And, put barriers in place for yourself so that you can get offline and get off screen, touch grass, do a yoga class, right? Breathe a little bit and then come back to the craziness. What really matters is people and how we treat each other.
That's right.
That is the truth.
Amen
Mic
to
drop.
that, girl. Mic drop. Boom.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. We will make sure we tag all the places that people can find you, whether it be for your marketing or for your yoga. We both really believe in yoga too. And, the breathing and the stretching. I tell everyone, and Chrissy says this too, like, I don't even know how to breathe before yoga. Like, what does that even mean? And then we're like, oh, yes, that is important, it turns out. So we'll make sure we are promoting all the places to find you and practice with you and then get your services. So
thank you so much for coming on, Sarah. We really appreciate it.
Christy, Amanda, it was a joy. And I hope we stay in touch and reach out if you need anything.
Definitely.
We will.
We'll definitely be in touch for sure.
Just remember, everyone, you can find us on YouTube, not to just completely go opposite of what you just said. We are on every platform. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. So
if this resonated, you guys, or you have somebody out there who could really use Sarah's services, please share. We appreciate it. Love you all.
Love you all.